what's your thought on this? Since we're kind of talking, but the racing has been boring. Is it the Longhorns are just boring to watch race in open air? Is that what? Because the racing was a little more exciting on the smaller tracks. It's been boring at big tracks for a while, but on these smaller tracks, it's even gotten boring. And they get out front, they run one or two lines, and back in the day, you had Rockets and Masterbuilts and all these other cars. They were running all over the place, and Rayburns, and now it's everybody's running the same exact car. It's almost like NASCAR going to the car of tomorrow.
And I hate to say this, but the late model fan base has become, y'all have become spoiled, to be honest with you. When I watched a lot of sprint car racing to start the year and was indulged in sprint car racing. I was in Australia. It's mainly a sprint car country, although Kai Blight and Joel Chalmers are doing great over here. Two great late model racers of this of that country that are over here doing great things. But the sprint car racing was okay. High Limit had some decent quarter mile racing action. But dude, when I turn on a late model race or go to a late model race, it's just instantly so much damn better. I hate to say it because I'm a sprint car guy. The actual racing, the door to door, the racing that's happening. Maybe Ricky Thornton's out by 12 seconds, but there's always something happening. There's always somebody coming through the field. There's someone passing. I feel like the late model fan base, maybe y'all had, and I would say you're right, probably 3-ish years ago, 2 years ago, maybe even. You had some, good racing, no matter if it was a big track or a short track. And like you said, last night's race at Lincoln really wasn't that impressive on a short track, but you had a great finish at Deer Creek over the weekend. It wasn't horrible. I do think tracks play a big factor on how entertaining a race is, but then also if you're worried and focused about who's winning in the lead, when you got Ricky Thornton Jr. out there, which this is going to mix it up. I think Lucas Oil is about to become way more entertaining because you lost such a lethal combination of SSI and RTJ. So now you got a car who is somewhat making the racing boring in a sense. I mean, I was at Muskegum. Donnie Moran dominated the race, but there were some challenges. There were some things. There was Tyler Carpenter. There was racing happening. Max Blair was working the bottom extremely well. I think tracks play a big factor, but now you remove RTJ and SSI Motorsports from dominating factors, and now I think Lucas Oil is going to change up just a little bit. So, I think the problem has been is you got these guys who hit on something and dominate. I mean, how boring has Eldora been when Davenport leads every single lap? And you can just tell. Even if he starts sixth, you can tell by lap 5 or 10 that he's just going to dominate, and it's already boring. And you got 90 laps to go.
Well, you're right, and that's what kind of I rate my racing experience, because let's face it, Eldora rarely races late models. In fact, after the Dream, they don't even race a late model there till September. The track sets dormant most of the season, so you look forward to a couple big races there, since that's my local track. And the racing isn't really any good unless you're hitting up a World of Outlaws or the High Limit shows coming up next week. But
4 Crown's pretty entertaining. 4 Crown's pretty entertaining, but
yeah, 4 Crown's good. But at the Dream, Davenport had a 2.5 second lead going into turn 2. I mean, it's not even fun to watch. People were actually folding up their chairs 5 laps in, going, well, there's no reason to stay. And it's like, and let's face it, I don't know if it was rumors or what, but, a few years ago, Davenport's team spent over $1 million on engineers. Well, it paid off, but it didn't pay off for the fans, but, they got their money back. They won that $1 million race. But
Ricky's somewhat of a driver crew chief, always has been, that's one of the respectable things about him, in my opinion. Is, all the success he had in modifieds and stock cars and coming up through the ranks the right way, he had to do as a driver crew chief. So I think maybe even Thornton potentially made Burroughs better in a sense as well. And I think that Thornton in the shop being dedicated to the car, Thornton wasn't underperforming. So if he was underperforming and, he's running a micro on a Tuesday, then yeah, you got a problem. But he just put 12 seconds on him at fucking Lernerville. You got Marlar and Davenport crying. So I don't see that being a potential.
And Ricky paid his dues. I mean, man, the dude really paid his dues, and you know, nothing was handed ever to him. He earned where he's at right now.
No, and somebody wanted me to argue today with them or wanted me to give him, my opinion, because apparently the dude's wife and his son argues all the time on who's better, Bobby Pierce or Ricky Thornton Jr. And I simply say, Bobby Pierce, I believe, was in his daddy's late models at 12 years old. I don't know. Ricky Thornton Jr. had to throw a damn modify on a flatbed at like 22 and drive to Iowa to make it. It's a whole and to race and win super nationals in every event he got into to get where he's at.
The other thing, the thing is with Ricky, Pierce, and I'll even throw Hudson in there, and sometimes McCready, it doesn't matter how their car is, they're going to race their butt off, and they're going to try to get to the front, where a lot of guys are like, well, I just don't have a car. But,
Right.
When you got those four guys, they're going to give you a show, and that's really what it's all about is that, it doesn't matter what the track is, what the car is, they're going to get the most out of their car. Josh Rice does the same thing, but, he doesn't have the money in that car, and you can usually tell that car isn't going to hold up, 100 laps at Eldora, but, I mean, you put him in a quality ride, that guy probably could impress a lot of people.
Yeah, and Bobby Pierce has that killer instinct in him. I remember it was, I think it was 2 years ago, not this year, but the last year, Bobby Pierce versus Larson, and Larson had the better car, and Bobby Pierce said that, and he said his car was bad here, bad there, but he found a way, changed his lineup, changed how he was driving, and tracked down Kyle Larson and beat him. And like you said, a lot of guys are out there in that car by lap 3 or 4. They see a guy get a half car length off the corner here, entering the corner there. They give up. Like you said, they just say, oh, well, the car ain't mine tonight, and they ride around there the rest of the race. The real winners, the Bobby Pierces, the Ricky Thorntons, the ones you're naming off there, that's not how they think. That's not how winners think. That's not how champions think. That's how losers and mid-packers think. And that's usually where you find them.
Right. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and have a great night, buddy.
You as well.
All right, thanks, man. Bye-bye.
All righty. The phone line is open, ladies and gentlemen. The phone line is open. We've had a Northeast Iowa person. We've had I should have recognized, Jason Durham. That's correct, with Davenport. My bad. Jason Durham. Oh,